Imagine this. Your funeral is being held. Everyone you know is mourning your death. Friends, family, neighbors, even strangers. And you are there, alive, watching it all unfold. No one recognizes you. No one expects you. Why would someone attend their own funeral? And how could you stay hidden while the world grieves for you? Elena Harper left her home on an ordinary morning, carrying nothing but her purse, and vanished. Her car was found abandoned on a quiet road, the doors unlocked, engine cold. Her phone went silent. Days passed, but there were no signs of struggle, no clues, nothing to explain her sudden disappearance. Her family was frantic. Posters were plastered on telephone poles, social media feeds were flooded with desperate messages, and neighbors began watching for any sign of her. Each day without news felt heavier than the last. Her mother sat by the window for hours, hoping to see her daughter walk up the driveway. Her father checked the mailbox again and again, wishing for a letter, a note, anything that could give them hope. Neighbors whispered strange things. Some claimed they glimpsed her silhouette in the windows late at night. Others swore they saw her walking past the park, only to vanish before anyone could approach. Even her best friend Emma swore she heard Elena's laughter echoing down the empty streets during a late-night walk, though the streets were deserted. As the days stretched into a week, the worry turned into fear. Local news covered her disappearance, and strangers began offering tips, many of them unhelpful or conflicting. Some said they had seen her leaving town. Others claimed she had been taken. Every lead ended in frustration, and the sense of unease in the town grew heavier. Then came the chilling news. Elena Harper had been declared dead. Cause unknown. No evidence of foul play. No explanation. Shock rippled through the community. Friends wept openly. Co-workers were stunned. Her family felt their world collapse, as if a shadow had fallen across every home that knew her name. Rumors began to spread, growing wilder each day. People whispered about strange figures spotted near her home, or lights flickering in the windows at night. Some claimed that at odd hours, they could hear soft footsteps in the hallways of her empty house. Funeral arrangements began. Flowers were ordered, the church was reserved, and candles were lit in her honor. People gathered to mourn a woman who was, unknown to them, still alive, walking somewhere just out of reach, invisible, yet ever present. The funeral hall was heavy with grief. Candles flickered, throwing long shadows across the walls. The soft murmur of mourners, occasional sniffles, and the low hum of the organ filled the room. The air smelled of fresh flowers and wax, a strange combination of life and death. The casket sat at the center, adorned with roses, lilies, and photographs of Elena Harper throughout her life. Smiles, frozen in time, stared back at those who came to mourn. Friends held each other tightly, trying to hold back tears. Her parents sat side by side, hands trembling, eyes red and hollow from sleepless nights. Her mother clutched a photo frame of Elena as a child, tracing the outline of her face with her fingers. Her father, stoic yet broken, stared at the casket as if willing it to breathe again. And then she arrived. Elena Harper walked through the doors like a ghost. No one noticed her. The mourner's attention was entirely consumed by the coffin, by memories, by grief. She moved silently among the crowd, watching faces etched with sorrow, listening to whispered stories, letting it all sink in. Every sob, every sigh, every whispered memory was hers to witness. She saw her childhood friends, grown now, crying quietly. She saw co-workers sharing moments she had long forgotten. She saw distant cousins speaking in hushed tones, sharing memories she never knew they remembered. And she realized something profound. Her absence had affected more lives than she had ever imagined. Hours passed slowly. The priest spoke in a soft voice, recounting her life with reverence and sorrow. Stories of Elena's kindness, her laughter, her dedication, her generosity, each tale was a mirror reflecting a life she had lived fully, yet never truly seen through the eyes of others. She watched her mother weep openly, holding onto a memory that only she truly understood. She saw her father's hands tremble as he touched the casket, and her spouse, overwhelmed with disbelief, unable to reconcile the absence they had felt with the presence they could not recognize. She noticed the small, unnoticed gestures, the way her best friend brushed a strand of hair from her face as she cried, The way a neighbor placed a bouquet of lilies gently on the casket. The way a coworker whispered, "She was the heart of our office." Each gesture felt like a thread, weaving a story of love, grief, and connection. She could have revealed herself. She could have run to her mother, her friends, her spouse, but she didn't. To speak would shatter everything. To be seen would destroy the delicate illusion, and the reasons she had faked her death were not yet over. Instead, she lingered in the shadows. She let herself be invisible. And in that invisibility, she saw the truth of her life, not just the surface memories, but the deeper bonds that tied her to everyone she loved. The ceremony stretched on. People shared memories, sang songs, prayed, tears fell freely, and silence punctuated moments between words. Elena Harper felt each moment like a knife and a balm at once, pain at what she had caused, wonder at what she had witnessed. As the final hymn played, she watched mourners approach the casket one last time. Her father placed his hand on the lid. Her mother kissed a photograph. Her spouse whispered a quiet goodbye. Elena stepped back, letting them have these moments, knowing they would never forget them but never suspecting she had been there the entire time. Finally, the ceremony ended. People slowly filed out, hugging one another, sharing memories, carrying grief and love in equal measure. Elena lingered a moment longer, letting the weight of the moment sink in. The quiet halls echoed with footsteps that weren't hers, with voices that hadn't noticed she was alive. Then, without a sound, she left. Days after the funeral, the truth finally began to surface. Elena Harper had staged her own death, but not for fame, money, or revenge. There had been a threat, a danger no one could have anticipated. Someone from her past had pursued her relentlessly, forcing her into hiding. Every move she made, every decision, was about survival, yet it came at a terrible cost. Elena returned cautiously, unsure how the world would react. She knew the grief she had caused, the pain her family and friends had endured, but she also knew it had been necessary. She had risked everything to stay alive and, in some ways, to protect the people she loved from the danger she faced. The moment of revelation was electric. Her mother's hands flew to her mouth, eyes wide with disbelief. Her father's face turned pale, and for a heartbeat, he couldn't speak. Friends gasped, some stepping back as though Elena were a ghost. Her spouse froze, trying to reconcile the absence they had felt with the woman standing before them. Elena spoke carefully, explaining why she had disappeared. She described the threat, the fear, and the impossible choices she had to make. Her voice trembled at times, carrying the weight of weeks spent in hiding, nights spent wondering if she would survive. Tears flowed freely, some of relief, some of anger, some of confusion. Some people called her brave. Others whispered the words selfish. Every reaction, every emotion, revealed the depth of the impact her absence had caused. Even as she explained herself, questions hung in the air. How far would someone go to survive? What is worth leaving everything behind? And at what cost do we protect the people we love? Elena reflected on what she had witnessed at her own funeral. The love, the grief, the stories she never knew. These were gifts she could never forget. She understood, more than ever, how interconnected lives are and how a single absence can ripple through the lives of countless people. Her revelation did not erase the pain she had caused, but it brought understanding. The town, the friends, the family, they saw her alive, breathing, human, and slowly, shock turned to relief. Even after the initial reunion, Elena could feel the lingering questions. How much of her life was really her own? How much had been shaped by fear, by survival, by the choices forced upon her? And how many people would ever truly understand what she had endured in those silent, hidden days? In the end, Elena Harper's story became a whispered legend, a tale of survival, of grief, of love, and of the fragile line between life and death. A reminder that sometimes the greatest truths are revealed not by what we say, but by what we witness, quietly, from the shadows. It reminds us how easily people are taken for granted while they're still here, and how loudly love speaks only when silence replaces a presence. We often don't realize the weight of a life until it's gone, or the depth of connection until it's tested by loss. And maybe that's the most haunting part of all, that it sometimes takes a funeral to show us who truly mattered, who truly cared, and how thin the boundary is between being remembered and being forgotten.